One guy who all eyes will be on, at least for part of the year in 2024, is going to be Deion Sanders. Got off to a great start last year with Colorado, and then, of course, the wheels fell off, and they skidded to, a 4-8 season, which, again, for a team that, and people forget, Colorado has been a doormat in the Pac-12, the once proud Pac-12. Now they're in the 17-team Big 12.
It's 16,
all right. Is it 16? It's, I mean, there's a gazillion teams in there. This much I do know. There ain't 12 teams in it, right? So now you're in the Big 12. I'm still not convinced you're going to be any better than 4 or 5 wins. Yes, you've got Shedeur Sanders, okay? Yes, you've got Travis Hunter. Yes, you brought in that big old lineman in the transfer portal. But I'm still not sold on the depth. You still haven't gone out and recruited high school. And I get it. You've got a lot of folks. You've still got a lot of building to do with that program. And, again, you've invited a lot of pub to your program. But this is what Deion had to say at Big 12 Media Days in relation to how he's viewed versus other coaches.
Yes, I'm judged on a different scale. My wins are totally different than your wins. Your wins, you just judging football. That's why I have to start out and give you education and academics and so forth. I have to give you those things so you understand there's a greater scope. I can't win 9 games and our GPA suffers. Our GPA can't be high, but we lose another 8 games. We can't not go and grab high school players and you got a bunch of guys in the portal, out of the portal that's getting incarcerated. My wins are different. We have to win in every area. That's the way we're judged, and I'm cool with that.
All right, first of all, Deion, and look, I'm a Deion guy, number one. Nobody cares if your players graduate. I mean, let's be honest. Does anybody in this room or anybody listening, 877-881-1053, anybody know what, we'll stick with Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, does anybody know what their graduation rates are?
I mean, I can't say that I know that off top.
Have you ever cared? Be honest. Have you ever cared about the graduation rate of a college football team? You told me today that you're a college football fan.
Yes.
Have you ever talked about graduation rate? You've been doing sports radio for how long?
8 years at this point.
How many segments have you done on graduation rates?
Not a single one, because that's not even a talkable conversation.
And has anybody ever said to you, a program director or otherwise, Reg, we'd love to hear more talk about graduation rates and what these coaches are doing with their players?
I cannot say that they have.
So what is Deion talking about?
I think that, honestly, Deion does a lot of framing, which I think is not.
He's framing all right.
It's not unique to him, to be fair, right? Media days, anytime you're in front of the media, you are framing situations for yourself to put yourself in the best light, whether it's contract negotiations, whether it's expectations, all these things. And the idea that, hey, man, I'm working with a different set of, it's harder to win here, is something that he's not inherently wrong about. It's one of the things that I tried to caution people about once Deion got there because of all the hype, because Colorado is not a place where you're supposed to win. And I know that sounds insane because people are like, well, you can win anywhere. This ain't EA's college football 25, right? There are things that are inherent in college football over time that have been the case. Geography matters. Investment and flat out spending matters. And now you end up with NIL spending in a different level when you talk about investment into the program matters. And Colorado is one of those places where you don't really have those things. The place where they used to be able to get an advantage recruiting wise was, academics, take it or leave it, right? Nebraska was another place like this back in the days, back when you go back to maybe like the 80s, 90s. They were able to be like, look, man, them straight C's, we can make that work. Come on down.
Absolutely.
We'll figure that out.
Every program does that.
There are certain programs that have certain standards. I think that's...
Look, Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame are about the only one, and maybe Northwestern and Stanford.
And I think it's also worth noting is that shifted, right? And you saw, I think, was it the late 90s, early aughts, you saw across the board there was some kind of academic standards put in, and that's where you see some of these programs lose their ability to go and recruit anybody and everybody, these athletes, to come to these places. And I think that when you take those away, places like Colorado, that's not a place where you're supposed to be able to win. And the winning that you're able to do,
but Colorado's won before.
It's off. It's supposed, but that's what I'm saying. It was in time periods where you were able to get a recruiting advantage by operating in a marketplace that not everybody would be willing to operate with.
The marketplace was not that different. The marketplace was not that. Look,
but that's what I'm establishing. The academic standards marketplace absolutely was. There are certain academic standards that you can't go below now.
But not against the teams you were competing against. Look, Colorado. You can recruit to Colorado. All right, you can recruit to Colorado. It's a different level of recruiting, but you can recruit. And oh, by the way, guess what? Deion told look, this pressure that he talked about.
Yeah.
You told us that you were gonna. You told us we coming.
And I think that's ultimately the thing.
Like that's what I mean.
That's where this gets a little bit funny.
That's my only thing with Deion. Deion, you told me you were gonna do this. You told us. Hey, you just watch. When everybody was giving Deion a hard time last year in weeks 1 and 2 and 3 and all this kind of stuff, and he said, we're coming, you just wait and see. And then, of course, they went on a 6-7 game losing streak and ended the season that way, right? And did a wholesale change with their coaching staff. Then this season, now all of a sudden it's, my guy's got to graduate and da-da-da. It's like, no. Here's what Deion's doing. And to your point, he's framing all right.
Yeah.
He's framing because he's framing that, look, this team is going to struggle in 2024. All right, this team's going to win 4, 5, maybe 6 games and get to a bowl game. And that's going to be the bar for them. And he's trying to let everybody know now so he can go back to this moment in time and say, look, I told you guys we were going to have a hard time in 2024. He's not saying it in so many ways, but he's kind of shadowing that by saying, I got to have, my wins aren't the same as everybody else's. No, they really are, Deion. They really are, okay? Because at the end of the day, you put this program on a pedestal and said, we're going to do things different. We've got all this money flowing into the program, this, that, and the other. Okay, great. But don't try to tell me that suddenly the goalposts have moved because you got to have guys that graduate. Nobody in Colorado or football cares. If you win 9 games, Deion, people are going to be excited.
And that's also a standard that everybody else has. Well, and if they win 9 wins at Colorado, he will have done something that was impossible.
Absolutely.
The way in which you can say his wins are different is that Colorado, if you win 6 games, you did something special. Where there are other places, and that's not new in college football. There's a certain level of expected wins that you can have in certain programs, and Colorado's is very low because of all the things that we established earlier. But the things that he's talking about, everybody got to make sure that they can get these kids to pass. Like, that's rules now.
I was going to say that's. But I guess that's what I'm saying. But
no,
again,
you're right. You're right. Like Deion has absolutely brought this attention upon himself, and now he wants to hide his hand in some ways. And I think you're right in that regard. But also, some of this for me personally, and I guess some of the reason why I react this way is I do want to acknowledge the way that Colorado's a tough place to win at. But also, it's media day. Coaches be talking. Right, coaches say all sorts of crazy things at media days that ultimately don't affect these things in a big way. And the reason why we're talking about this is not because he said this in particular, it's because it's Deion Sanders. Because coaches say this type of stuff all the time. Coaches get out here grandstanding all the damn time.
Here's the thing, though. I don't have a problem with him grandstanding.
Sure.
I'm A-okay with him grandstanding. All I'm saying is you're already making excuses for why your team. I mean, to me, it sounds like these are excuses to why if this team struggles in 2024, which I think he knows it's going to, because the depth is a question. And yes, you've addressed the offensive line. It remains to be seen if you fixed it or not.
I highly doubt he fixed it. Because
Okay.
offensive line isn't something
That's
you pour.
not a quick fix. Exactly.
You don't
can
pour it on
plug a
offensive
few
line.
holes, but again, you were lacking depth. And oh, by the way, you lost your best running back in the transfer portal to your boys,
K-State.
every man a Wildcat.
Come on down, Edwards. We got you taken care of, young man.
It's just going to be interesting to see. Look, I want to see Deion succeed. I'll also tell you this much: would I be surprised to see him bounce after his son and Travis Hunter go to the pros? Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
And my thing about Deion is, I think that the thing that's frustrating for me, because I know the thing that's frustrating for you is hey man, this is different.
I'm just like, come on, bro.
I'll say for me it is frustrating. This thing is and maybe it's not Deion himself. Some of this is y'all, and I will say the royal y'all in this way. Y'all wanted to get out here and tell me Deion was so much different than everybody else. And the fact of the matter is, hey man, you're being a college football coach. Welcome to the responsibilities and the reactions of every other. Like, everybody wanted to make this that Deion was going to change the way that this is done. And look, I would love the idea and I think everybody loves the idea that someone's going to come in and be a disruptor. But the fact of the matter is, college football is a long-standing institution. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of people that have tried to change this. And for better and for worse, this has been something that has changed people as opposed to people have changed. And so the idea that Deion is a big enough personality to get out here and change it was an interesting idea. But ultimately, what he's saying there and what it sounds like to me is, hey, man, you realize Coach of college football is coach of college football, whether you're doing it in Colorado, Florida, North Dakota, all these things. The system is what the system is, and you get with it or you get gone.
That's it. Couldn't have said it any better myself.